Circular breathing isn't easy. Hey y'all, welcome. This is another episode of, I'm not calling it Let's Get Purple. I'm thinking it's more like a song-telling improvisation, song-telling freestyle. That's what I was thinking. So this is song-telling freestyle with your host, Steady Matt, and we are in Australia. We've got kangaroos around, and well, we're gonna start building on a request last week from my buddy TJ. He wanted to hear "You Almost Won." It's an old song that I like a lot. It's about losing. To be honest, it's actually about losing the Rhodes Scholarship of all things. So it's kind of a cool story. So I'm gonna kind of get started on this story. But while I do, I'm hoping that you guys are also going to get on and maybe do some questions or something. I'm gonna say right here, I'm here in the comments. And I can't look at the Facebook comments, but I do have moderators checking it out and texting me. So come on in, listen, and let's get started on how I lost the Rhodes Scholarship. So I went to this really uppity school in upstate New York called Skidmore College, and it was one of those liberal arts schools where you learn things like language is a symbol that we use to conceptualize things we can't. I don't know, man. It's just kind of just a place to hang out and party for a few years, you know. I remember I wrote this song when I first went to school. A table's a table, a chair is a chair. Past that intellectually, man. I mean, why do people care? But there you are sitting, trying to interest me in different religions and that damn fallen tree. I got my own problems, can't you see? You know, sometimes, man, I wish I was just like you. And philosophizing was all I had to do. But I got a cold, and my bills, they must get paid. And my woman is pissed. It's been weeks since I got laid, and I don't got enough financial aid. Yeah, man, I was broke back in college. Some of you may have heard eggs and beans, yeah? I was eating eggs and beans and mac and cheese and ramen noodles and all that kind of good stuff. But I was going to a really good school, you know. You could always see Matt. He was always sitting right up there, front of the class, smiling, going, man, I'm getting paid $30,000 a year to be here and learn cool stuff. And everybody else was just kind of hungover after partying all night on a bunch of expensive drugs and just trying to slither out the back door and go call their dad for another $500, you know. But I was there. I had no choice, man. And I worked hard at school. I worked very hard. I got very good grades. And I remember the last time I went in there, I went to my guidance counselor and she said, Matt, you know what? She looked at me and she said, you're going to Australia? Australia? She said, you're going to Australia? What are you talking about? Well, that's not actually how it happened. She said, Matt, you can go anywhere you want. Anywhere in the whole wide world. You've been working for 4 years, man. You can go anywhere you want in the entire world. You can go to the dry Tortugas, man. I mean, you can go to the lower Antilles. I mean, you could go down to Paraguay where they got Paraguayan stuff. See, I wasn't stupid, man. I was like that do-good kid with the good grades, and so I knew how to milk the system, man. I knew when the system said you could go, you went as far as the system said you could go. So I got the globe and I looked around and I realized that Australia was physically the furthest place. It was the most expensive place. It was the most difficult place for me to ever go. So I said, I want to go to Australia. And she said, fine. I said, okay, is that it? What's up, buddy? Good to see you. I'm stopping to say hi to the first few comments. Great to be here. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for listening, man. So yeah. And don't forget, you can always ask questions, man. I can read the YouTube ones. I can't necessarily read the Facebook ones right away. So anyway, I'm going, so I want to go to Australia. And I mean, we're talking about like a $30,000, not a $30,000 a year education. We're talking about a serious trip here. Tickets and stipend and all that kind of stuff. And she said, wait, Matt, I got one thing that I want to ask you. One thing that I'd like you to do, in exchange for this trip to Australia. I said, yeah, are you kidding me, man? I would wash your sweat socks for a trip to Australia, man. I would babysit your grandmother for a week, man. I would do anything you wanted, I'm telling you. Well, there's things I wouldn't do, and I don't want to talk about those things right now, but I would have done a lot of things to go to Australia. But I wasn't ready for what she said. She said, Matt, we want you to apply for the Rhodes Scholarship. Me? Matt? Now, you gotta realize I had a shorter hair back then, much shorter hair, and I was, when I have short hair, I kind of look like some sort of a combination of a FBI agent and a real estate agent. If they got together and they were, maybe trying to sell off maybe some old homes that an FBI agent used to have or something like that. That's what I look like. So I guess I was Rhodes Scholar material back then. And I got myself an application. And then I said, you know what, my dear? I'll just take care of this when I'm in Australia. So that's what I did. I got out of school. I was married at the time, but we won't get into that right now, unless you want to. And I went to Australia with an application for the Rhodes Scholarship. And my life was looking up, man. It was looking up. So what does a young man do when he's going out into the world and he's gonna be a Rhodes Scholar and he's traveling as an ambassador of his own country into a completely different part of the world? What's the first thing he's gonna do? Well, of course, go out and get completely stinking drunk, or pissed, as they say in Australia. Now, before I start this next song, I'm gonna do a little question for you all. Does anyone know how to say puking your guts out after getting sick drinking kind of thing in Australian? Do you know what they say for that? Oh, I went out last night and had a bit of a... No? All right. Well, you can listen in this song, see if you hear that word. Yeah, so I went down to this little town called Adelaide. It's the city of churches. But even the city of churches in Australia is a pretty hard drinking place, They have this really delicious beer called Cooper's, and it has the sediment on the bottom, I mean, here we would go, wait a minute. There's beer with the sediment on the bottom, but in South Australia, well, they really like Cooper's, and Cooper's has sediment on the bottom. And so what they have to do is turn the bottle upside down and spin it around a few times so all those chunks of yeast and whatever the heck happens when you make beer and sits on the bottom of your bottle just sort of mixes up with the rest of the lager. But it was really good, man. The first one was good. The second one was good. The third one was good. The fourth one was even better. And the fifth one was really going down smooth. And then I was too drunk. Hey, look, the American's about to puke. I was too drunk. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. That's hilarious. I love it. All right, I don't know your name, buddy, and that's maybe good, but I was just saying, going into a country, the first thing that you always do is come and get drunk. You came here to the country, and so you were too drunk. Hey, look, the foreign guy's about to puke. He is too drunk. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. I was lucky I could stand. I was sleeping in my hands. Man, my love woman started looking for a sober man. All my friends started bringing me glasses of water and offering to drive me home. Well, you know that we left the bar, and on the way to the car, well, dinner kept making a comeback. They said, mate, you don't look so good neither. Then this bloke said, hey there, matey. Now you're drinking down under. Can you smell the chunder? Are you all pissed? And that girl you kissed, you better run. You better take a cover. It was my first night out. And my new friend said, have a beer in the morning and put a bucket by your bed, 'cause you're too drunk. Even I realized I wasn't acting that cool, man, I was too drunk. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Cool, Mirza, if I'm pronouncing that right, I'm gonna say Mirza's it. Well, Mirza and I are kind of brothers here because we both go get drunk in other countries as a way of saying hello. When I drink to get drunk, man, what the hell am I thinking? When to getting drunk become the point of my drinking, I gotta find a pace. Is drinking a race? I got to sit back and taste. You know I keep on falling on my face, getting too drunk. When everyone keeps asking, are you doing all right? You're too drunk. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Now I want to think here. Now, Mirza, can you say, okay, good. Now, Mirza, while I've got you in the comment thread, can you tell me what country you're from? It'll take you a minute, but what I'm gonna do, since Mirza's interacting here, I'm gonna see if I can come up with a too drunk about coming into the United States here. Yeah, I think we're all a lot sexier when we're too drunk. I gotta get the right harmonica for this. Just 1 second here. All right. No, but man, the truth is though, the real thing about this story though is, see, I thought I could drink these Aussies under the table, right? Because I'm a pretty heavy drinker. In my day, I was able to drink an awful lot. Oh man, he's making me guess. All right, Mirza is making me guess what country he's from. I am going to say, I'm going with Mirza. I'm gonna go with I don't know. This is hard. It's like I feel like whatever I say, I'm gonna hurt somebody's feelings. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. Sorry, I gotta get myself together. Okay, I am saying you are from Poland. I don't know, Mirza. I don't know. It's a beautiful name, but I don't know what it is. I'm figuring. The only clues I've got. I know that you like to have a drink. That you came to the United States. That your name is Mirza. That you love Steady Matt, which is the most important thing of all those things. I was too drunk. I was coming over to the USA. See, I was too drunk. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Well, I got off the plane and holy snap, dude, man, I could not believe the size of the foods to these people in the States. Man, they already ate. They got so much on the plate. Man, they're going to heaven's gate, getting too drunk. So walked in this bar and I didn't do too bad. Bosnia, I like it. All right. Perfect. I was too drunk. Hey, look, the Bosnian's about to puke. I was too drunk. You never get the second chance to make a first impression. I was lucky I could stand. I was sleeping in my hands, and now I'm sitting here talking to an American man, and he's so full of himself, talking about this and that. Well, now he's sitting there saying his own people are fat. He's getting too drunk. But now the Bosnians are coming up and drinking some beer. Wow, they're too drunk. And I can't make a second chance to make a first impression. Well, you know, I don't know anything about Bosnia, but I want to learn. And I think this time my improv is getting quite burned, because I need to learn more about where my boy's from. Then I could get this one really, really well done. It'd be a good too drunk. But I'm gonna go back, because my dear friend Mizra here from Bosnia, which I just love, man. I love that. I love that. I go up to these Australians and I am so ready to just drink them under the table. But this is the truth. I'm gonna say I probably shouldn't say this. I'm trying to keep it family friendly, and this is not that unfamily friendly. So what really happened is I drank like probably 10 or 12 pints of beer. It's a lot, but that's about how much anybody can drink, right? And you know, we're getting to that point. And of course, I was about 20 years old. And so what I wanted to do is to smoke some weed, right? So you know, the first thing you want to do after you get really drunk in a country is find some place to break the laws and smoke weed. And so then I go there, and you know, they call them cones. And so the person said, oh, you want a cone? You smoke a cone? You know, I was like, yeah, I want to smoke a cone. But I was all ready to go. I was charging it. So we go outside and you know, making new friends. And I'm in Australia and everything feels different. And the water's going around the toilet bowl this way. And you know, there's nobody from Bosnia, so I understand more about it. and I'm sitting there and I'm talking to this guy, or a bloke, I should say. And we're drinking beer, and he hands me the cone, and so I hit that cone. And I don't know if you've ever had that time when you haven't smoked weed in a long time, and then you have a whole bunch to drink, and then you decide to really smoke a lot of weed on top of having a bunch to drink, and you haven't really eaten anything, and you got jet lag, and you flew all the way to Australia, and you're just a dumb 20-year-old kid, and you don't know that much anyway. It was bad, man. I mean, I just instantly was like, I had a chunder, which I think is one of the best Australian slang words ever. Chunder, which means when you get sick. It's a street pizza, is a chunder. And so I had a bit of a chunder. But I'll tell you what, though. The one thing I can tell you about that is I did make some really good friends in Australia. And yeah, I mean, it was, we got things going. But now we got to get back to the story here. So okay, I told you I would tell you a little bit about You Almost Won. We got to get to You Almost Won. So basically, I started off with the I'll start paying for this. Matt, you've been my boy Matt, a cast member on the Purple Party, says he's been there. I've been there, not in a while. I haven't really done that in quite some time, but I think we've all been there. Everybody's had a little bit too much. I was at a party the other night, and apparently that was what, you know, somebody was holding somebody's hair up over the toilet. But that's why they call it a party, man. You know what I mean? That's why they call it a party. That's what you're supposed to do. So once I'd gotten done partying, I mean, I could talk for 10 hours on Australia, but we're here to learn about what happened with the Rhodes Scholarship, right? So the Rhodes Scholarship is a pretty straightforward application. It's not too difficult. What you basically got to do is you got to just get a couple recommendations, which I got. That's pretty straightforward. Then you got to tell them what you want to study. That's kind of hard. And well, that's about it. I mean, well, then you got to go to the interview and all that stuff, but that's the second stage. So first I got I got all the recommendations, right? And then I decided I had to think about what I was going to study. Now, there was one more really important piece of information, which I guess I better tell you now. So on this application, there was like, you know, the rules and regulations and lots of things that you'd expect in an application. Then there was this big thing with an asterisk and a big thick thing. It said, please note, if the scholarship recipient or if the applicant, whatever, has a spouse, there is absolutely no support for the spouse at all, and it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to live for two people on this stipend, plus there are very few employment opportunities. They were basically discouraging married students. And at the time, oh man, I was very, 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 very romantic. I mean, this is, if you want, I mean, I'm a sour old man now, but when I was younger, man, I mean, I did it all for love, including getting married, at least the first time, you know, but I very much loved my first wife. I still think she's a wonderful person. I don't know much about her, but she was wonderful during the time we spent together. Whatever you want, lie back down and you can name it. I'm letting you know how grateful I am. There was a time when no one else could ever get me, but suddenly you made it inside. I think I finally found it. You're around now. The past was on my mind, but you're around, and as time stops, you know I'll always love you as time stops. Yeah, so I mean, that was the kind of guy I was. That's still the guy I am in many ways, but I was a lot younger then. So there was this big thing on there that just said, we don't want your wife, man. And there was something about that really pissed me off. I don't know why. I mean, it's not that unreasonable. They were just explaining to me the situation. In retrospect, it doesn't really seem like that unreasonable that they weren't going to like pay for my wife, you know? So I don't really, oh, thanks, man. I'm glad you guys like that song, man. And so I was just like a kind of guy, but part of me feels now, if I was psychoanalyzing it, you know, I would say almost that I was maybe afraid. And so I started to get a little self-destructive, but I decided to kind of behave what's pretty much clearly pretty wild ideas. I decided that I wanted to study Oscar Wilde. Now, Oscar Wilde, for those of you who don't know, was a very famous playwright or poet back in Victorian England. And Oscar Wilde had one of the saddest stories in British history. He was gay at a time when it's very difficult in many aspects all over the world now, but it was incredibly difficult in Victorian England at that time to be a LGBTQ plus man or whatnot. And so he was kind of out in the open. He was also brilliant. He's still one of the most famous writers of all time, and he's one of my favorites. He's one of the guys that wrote, you probably heard things that he said, like the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about. It's me or the wallpaper. One of us has to go. It was, he has 1,000 different quotes. He was a genius, and he was an unusual guy. He was a big, tall guy, not unlike me. Although I don't share a lot of his personality traits, but physically we were, and he, I don't want to tell you his whole story, but the bottom line is that he went to jail essentially for being gay, and it's a long story, but it is a very tragic story. So what I was essentially thinking is, you know, I want to rehash this terrible part of English history and study it for the entire time that I'm there for the Rhodes Scholarship. And I literally said, you know, because I want to understand just exactly why these Victorian bastards, you know, ruined how England ruined the greatest writer of all time. I mean, it was beyond suicidal. It was dumb, you know. It was dumb. But I went out in grand style, man. I'm not kidding here. I'm not kidding you. I went out in great style. I went out and I got a picture taken of myself, dressed up like Oscar Wilde in coattails with a little top hat. And I had a black and white photo taken of me looking just like Oscar Wilde, tipping his hat, one of his famous photos. So I was basically, what I was trying to do, nobody's perfect. I'm nobody, so I'm perfect. I love that. That's true. I mean, you know what? I think what you're saying, Misra, I think you're saying that I'm too hard on myself. And if so, all the way from Bosnia, or if you're in the States or wherever you're at, you've hit the nail on the head. You know exactly what my issue is that quickly. Wow, you're a smart guy, man. Yeah. I really want everything to be perfect. That's why it's even hard for me to do this video, because I want everything to be edited and perfect and every single line to be perfect, and I don't want to make any mistakes. But I realized that actually people are having more fun watching me make mistakes than, you know, trying to not make mistakes. And I think it's a great idea to play this song. I don't want to be perfect anymore. I don't want to be perfect anymore. I want a blemish and just one thin scar. And darling, I hope it's alright, 'cause I don't want to be polite anymore. I said I don't want to be polite anymore. It's what I mean, and it's what I say. So darling, I hope that's okay. I don't want to be proper anymore. I said I don't want to be proper anymore. It's who I am, it's what I do. I said, darling, I hope that's alright with you. 'Cause I don't want to be perfect anymore. Oh, you know, this is so much fun, guys. This is working. Misra, I'm giving you the gold star. Amanda and Matt, you're like got my back all the time, and you're helping make this work. But Misra, you're getting my gold star for today. You really did finger it that I do want to be perfect, and maybe this was all just a fear of failure. So let's go into how my wife felt at the time. You know, I don't want to talk about her or name her or anything, but you know, you got to imagine what she was thinking, right? Because she's sitting there watching me, and this is our future. I don't have any money saved. I'm a broke scholarship kid, you understand? So the choice is this. Either we get the Rhodes Scholarship and we go to Oxford and try to live off my stipend, or we take whatever money is left in our pockets after Australia and go crash land somewhere in the US of it's impossible to live here, and we would have to actually figure out some way to make it. So this was a big deal. It's a very, very big deal. And I'm sitting here saying, like, how could Oscar Wilde have been thrown in jail? And you people, England, British people are so stupid. And, you know, it's a suicidal mission. Probably some form of deep psychological issue that I hadn't quite yet gotten my head around. But basically, she was like, what are you doing, man? Are you kidding me? You know, I mean, it's like we didn't have a baby yet, but this is the time when, you know, the wife grabs the baby and goes, are you kidding me? You know? This is, it's like that scene in Jerry Springer. It's like, show me the money, man. I mean, with the kids in the tub with the rubber ducky, we just didn't have a kid or a rubber ducky. All we had was a sense that we were, supposed to be together, which wasn't enough, But I was, where was I? So she was not digging this, so now you're wondering how I felt, right? Well, my reaction, however masked it might have been in multiple layers of psychopathic, self-deception, I should have said. I really thought I was going to win. I thought that basically they were going to see that I had the cojones, the stones, the family jewels, the king jelly beans to get myself right up there in their face and let them know how I felt about it. And in addition to the Oscar Wilde thing, oh yeah, I've been looking for that photo, Misra, for a long time. Actually, if someone gets that photo, that would be one of the photos I would put in my autobiography. It's such a cool photo. Oh, I'm gonna look for it. I'm gonna double my effort. No, I really thought I was gonna win, man. I mean, I really thought I was gonna win. And that was not just like, I'm just gonna get a quick drink of water here, guys. Excuse me for 1 sec. In fact, if anybody is out there has a drink, I mean, I'm not getting too crazy because I'm performing and I kind of want to stay sharp while I'm doing it. But I have a beverage here. I'm enjoying something. I hope you are. I hope you're having something nice and enjoying this and having a good time. I sure am. And so yeah, we're gonna get that photo up, and I'm thinking I'm gonna win this thing. Because in addition to the Oscar Wilde photo, I also had something at the end. I said I went down to an Australian bank and I withdrew a $50 international cashier's check, which cost at the time like almost $10. It was. And I sent them a $50 certified check to start a foundation for the wives of future Rhodes Scholars. Now, this is not big balls. These are like balls that don't even fit in a warehouse, man. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, I have no idea what was going on in my mind, but I really felt that by showing them, by standing up, by saying, hey, I love this woman more than I love your scholarship, that they would somehow see my ability to love somebody and have that transcend their own rules and maybe reach into their stuffy old British pockets and throw me a few quid so I could take my wife there and study one of the ugliest parts of their history and wonder why they did that terrible thing. I'm a piece of work, dude. So, you can imagine, it was pretty tense, man. It was pretty darn tense, in Matt and First Wifeville. And it was really, really tense. Just a second, I'm checking on. Oh, come on, don't make me do that. Checking on some ideas here. Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Everybody, I just was double checking. I've got some people moderating the comments so that if you guys say anything, especially on Facebook, because the Facebook is most of my audience, bro. So I'm loving you guys. I am so glad to be back on board with this. Again, if you're catching in the middle of this, I want to get back to the story, but this is kind of like the Steady Matt show, but this is improvised. Okay, there's no script. It's song telling, improvisation. Your comments, your ideas, your suggestions, I want to come into the story. It's not going to happen right away. It'll happen over time. But please just go for it. And I got people looking at the comments, okay? Was that my greatest challenge? Let's see. Was that my greatest challenge when you were trying to... Well, that's an interesting question. So you're basically asking, like, was that so... So when I was getting the scholarship, was the whole wife thing really a big issue? Or, in other words, did I feel like, oh, my wife is holding me back, or, why? Basically, the way I felt about it was like, you understand, when you get married when you're 19, or I was like 19 or 20, when you get married that young, you've spent the entire time having everybody tell you it's a bad idea, because it's a bad idea. So all you've heard is have everyone tell you it's a bad idea, and so it's like they just tell you, you're too young, and even if they tell you it's a good idea, they look at you like, oh, oh boy, that sounds great, and then you watch them go, oh my God, they're like, so that's what you spent your entire time doing, and you're so young, you don't know anything, so you're just like, oh, I know, they're wrong, those guys are wrong, I'm right, because I'm 19, and they don't know what they're talking about. So that's what had been going on for a long time, and in the midst of that, this happens, and so I was already like, I mean, for example, I'd had to carry my wife on my back like a backpack all the way to Australia. We had to figure out how to pay for her tickets. They wouldn't give any money for her there. Her parents weren't that helpful about it. It was very, very stressful about money. We had no money. I spent time in Australia. I busked on the streets. I played music on the street. Sometimes we were hungry. I mean, I don't want to go on and on about it, but we didn't have money, man. And that was a big deal. I mean, we should do this one. I don't know if we did it yesterday, but we really should do eggs and beans. It's really got to happen. So come on, be my Face ID. Oh wow, wonderful, Paula. Adam, Carrie's here. That's great. Hey guys, don't forget, we're gonna be doing this every week. You don't have to always be here, but I love it if you can be. Now let's do eggs and beans really quick, man, because in order to understand how this story ends, we're building up to the big finish. You do need to understand how broke we were. And my wonderful ex-wife, who I think is a wonderful person, and I starved almost our entire relationship. And it was a very defining thing about our relationship. We had tough times with cash. So I'm going to play eggs and beans, which is a fun one. I think we might have done it last week, but it's got to happen. And then we'll get to the last song. Today it's cheese, today it's sandwich, it's cheese sandwich day. Cheese is today, a sandwich is today, today it's a cheese sandwich. Every day is cheese sandwich day. Now let's see, I'm just a poor boy eating my breakfast, eating my eggs and beans. We gotta think of something Australia though. What's some Australia? I'm just a poor boy eating my breakfast, eating my Vegemite toast. Vegemite toast for lunch and dinner is a little more Vegemite toast. Yeah, I'm eating the most Vegemite toast. Today it's pasty, today it's pork, today it's pork pasty day. Pasty is today, pork it's today, today it's a pork pasty. Oh, every day is pork pasty day. I remember one time we were so broke when we were there that, like, sometimes when you're really broke, man, like, you just want to go out and do something that you shouldn't do. There was this big seafood place called Sam Samtas. I remember I went out and I busted. I made like, $50. It was a good day on the streets, and we went and we bought this lobster. And Australian lobsters, they don't have any claws or anything, and they're really tasty, but they're super expensive. But even there, they're really expensive. And I spent almost all $50 on the lobster. I remember we came home, and we had this little tiny apartment. I mean, it was just a little. And there was this guy who lived right next to us. And like, so you gotta shut the hell up there. And we had to kill the lobster. I remember we tried to think of the most humane way. I was a vegetarian. That's why eggs and beans I was a vegetarian. We wanted to kill it humanely because we were still eating lobsters. And we put them in the sink and covered them with a rock so they would drown. And I remember we just both looked at them like, what are we doing, man? And then we cooked them and they weren't right, and we took them back, and it just felt like something was going wrong, you know. And this was, I mean, when this was back in the day of snail mail. I mean, I'm not the youngest guy in the block. There was no sending back text messages back and forth from Australia, man. I mean, it took weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks for that stuff to get through the mail. And I'm just a poor boy eating my breakfast, eating my Vegemite toast. A Vegemite toast for lunch and dinner is a little my Vegemite toast. Yeah, I'm licking my paper Vegemite toast. Yeah, so we starved, man. I mean, we starved. I mean, we starved, man. And it's weird when you're starving all the way in another country and you don't know where you're going next. And you have, my parents were like living in a motorhome down on the border of Mexico in some small like town in Southern California, and they didn't have any money either. And it was looking like that Rhodes Scholarship would be pretty sweet. And as those letters were just slowly working their way on the back of oil tankers or like in some sailboat or on a manatee or however the hell it was getting across the ocean, it was taking forever, man. I started thinking, man, maybe that wasn't that smart, you know. Maybe it wasn't that smart to do that. You know what I mean? Oh, nice. Maybe it wasn't so smart to send a picture of me dressed up as Oscar Wilde as a big FU to these guys, and then send a $50 certified check to start a foundation for the future wives of Rhodes Scholars. Maybe what I should have done is said, like, yeah, I'll study poetry. Can I get to the interview and get the money, please? And then go on and be like the next Chris Christopherson. You know, he was a Rhodes Scholarship, and he was a famous musician, and he was basically everything I could have been. God, that's depressing. All right, well, Adam wants to know what Vegemite is. That's more cheery. Now, Vegemite is what kind of happens when you take, let's say, if you take maybe lard, and then you sort of let it sit out and kind of slowly lose a little bit of its liquidity so it's sort of more firm, and then maybe you put a little bit of Vaseline in there, and then maybe some brown sugar and a little bit of maybe motor oil, just a sprinkle, maybe some salt and pepper, and then you whip it all up. No, I don't even know what it is. I think it's called a yeast extract, but Vegemite is basically the peanut butter of Australia. Which, if I was gonna name this live stream, that would be the name of this live stream. Would be the peanut butter of Australia. Thank you for that, Adam. And Vegemite was never my thing, man. I mean, there's certain things I did like in Australia, they had really good falafels. I mean, and they had really good seafood. They had these Moreton Bay bugs, which were these little like slipper lobsters that were really delicious, man. And those lobsters were really good, but it was hard to kill them. And they had these really nice pink shrimp, and they had these mangoes, but Vegemite, yeah, and jackfruit, man. It's like you cut one of those open, it's like everybody, oh man, and it's just no good, man. And then I got into I tried Vegemite. I mean, that's people will come in, they'll say, yeah, why don't you want to try some Vegemite? But it's basically like you feel like Vegemite. It shouldn't be the main thing. Like, Vegemite should be the kind of thing where there's an ingredient list like this long, and it says like, a cup of this and a cup of this and two things of this, and then it says just a little bit of Vegemite, or like a tablespoon. And that's what it seems like it should be. Like an ingredient, a small ingredient that somehow just adds a little bit of flavor to some dish in a way you don't really even understand. But that's not what it is. It's actually like it's like the main thing, man. Like somebody would want to get a Vegemite sandwich, they just go out and slather this yeast extract their bread, much like we would creamy peanut butter. And then they proceed to eat it. I have tried to do that, and I lived, you know what I mean? And I don't have anything really bad to say about it, except it doesn't taste good. But, yeah. So, I don't know. So, yeah, so here we are, and, we're waiting, and waiting, and waiting, and waiting. And as Tom Petty says, the waiting is the hardest part. And things were getting pretty tense. We were like, you know, stopped sleeping in the same bed. I think I was sleeping on a little blanket out in the living room, and we were just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And then finally, one day it came. Oh, look. Donna, you're on here. I love it. I love it. I didn't know. Donna, no, I'll tell you what. The more surprising than the end of this story, which is coming up here, is that Donna has eaten Vegemite. I mean, you know, if this is the Donna that I know, and I'm sure it is, because I see her last name up there too. If that is the Donna that I know, the fact that you know what Vegemite is I love it. I love it. It does taste weird. So no more Vegemite sandwiches. No more shrimp on the Barbie. No more boomerang stew. No more crocodile tooth necklaces. No more. Oh, what was I thinking, man? What was I thinking? So I get this letter, and it's thin, man. And you know, when you fill out an application that has a big padded app, you want to get back an even bigger one. You want it to be like a Foot Locker or something. And this was a pretty thin letter. And I remember my ex-wife, she went in there, she went out and got it, because I'd never get the mail. There's nothing but bad news in there, and I don't like to go to the mailbox. As a matter of course, here I do it because I try to take care of things for mom and keep things in order, but I don't like to get mail. You know, I don't like to check my email, for instance. I don't like to know what's in there. So she goes out there and she brings, and she says it's here. And when she looked at me, it would be like if she like there was a pregnancy test and she already knew what it was and then handed it to me. And when she handed it to me, she already knew that it was what she said it was, that wasn't what I said it was. You know, she was not very happy about this. And so she hands it to me. She hadn't opened it yet. And I'm like, man, are you serious? This is crazy, dude. I was like, and so I got it, and I opened up the thing, and as soon as I opened it, boom, it fall, like the check that I sent them just falls. It hit it was like they'd soaked it in lead or something. It just, boom, you could hear it bouncing off the floor, and the check hits the thing, and it just says, you know, it was a very short note. Thank you, Mr. Forsyth, you know, for your application. We won't be needing anything further. It was just like, whatever, bro. You know, like I had about as much impact. It was like when they say that like an asteroid the size of, you know, the baseball just went, you know, 30 miles by Earth. It's like, yeah, I'm kind of interested, but you know, whatever. And there's nothing worse than being insignificant, especially for a guy as egotistical and as narcissistic as yours truly. So it was really tough, man. I mean, I went all the way from being this young married guy with a beautiful wife and a bright future, and now I had no money and nowhere to go, man. And I had just blown it. I just blown it away. And I'm still just drinking in the Donna. Now you're talking about alligator tail. I don't even know this woman. Here you think you know somebody for your whole life, and you just don't. You don't. And I'm sitting there, and I'm going, what did I do? So I went outside this little apartment building, and I went outside, and I remember, I'll never forget, I was like in shock. Because you got to remember, I thought I was going to win. I know it sounds crazy. When I tell the story now, only a crazy guy would think that he was going to win. but I am a crazy guy. So that's, you see, and so like I was just on my back, and I looked up at the sky, and I remember I couldn't figure out if the clouds were moving or the sky was moving. I mean, I was really not in a good place, and I just didn't know what to do. And it was at that moment, I mean, literally at that exact moment, that I wrote this song that was the inspiration for this entire episode, this fun episode that I have been loving sharing with you. And don't forget, if in the comments, which I will look through in detail when we're done, if you have suggestions for other stories, if you have suggestions for I'm not done yet, but if you have suggestions of songs and stories, I can look through those. I want this to be audience-centered. I want this to be something we do together, not something that I just do, one way, okay? So the best parts of today were when you guys took part. But let's get to the final song. We're not quite done yet, but we're gonna do You Almost Won. Thank you, Donna. Oh, I like it. No, we should do a different song. This song is called You Almost Won. You almost won. You're practically done. You're virtually there. Now that's a pretty good chorus, but I just saw Donna's comment and it was like, you should have won. You should have won. I would have given you the first prize there. I kind of like her version a little bit better, but... And if you want to sing along, this song, it's kind of fun to sing along to. It's not too easy, not too hard. It's like, you almost won, you almost won, you almost won. You're practically done, you're virtually there. Well, hey there, son, I should have called you sport. Looks like you came up a little bit short. Well, join the club, man, losing's getting big. Well, you're backing up, they take your parking spot. You studied hard, but you drank a lot. It's the guy from Deliverance shouting, squeal like a pig. You almost won. You almost won. You're practically done. You're virtually there. Don't let those tears fall in that wine. You're so close to the finish line, and pretty soon it's gonna be chunder time. No, wait, that's not how it goes. Wait, don't let those tears fall in that wine. You're so close to the finish line. There's always next time. I said that. Well, next time she'll say I do. Next time it'll all come to you, and if it doesn't, well, there's always next time. Wow, I just had a really weird moment. I was like singing those songs, and then it felt like I was up in the corner of this room singing them to me because I was saying, next time she'll say I do, but I was already married, and I was gonna get divorced about a year later. Was I psychic? You almost won. You almost won. You're practically done, you're virtually there. Now I'm seeing here, Donna, you said tell us about losing passports. Now I'm all over it. I'll tell any. Really, I just want to tell stories that you guys want to hear. I don't want it to be the Steady Matt Show again. I want it to be improvisation. So I'm trying to remember when I lost my passport. I'm not sure. Now I probably did, but remind me. So, yeah, we'll come back to the United States. So I spent another 3 or 4 months sitting there in Australia. Sitting there, man. I mean, sitting there. And this happened to me a few times. It's one thing when you make a big mistake and you haven't seen the retribution for it yet. You make the mistake. It's like when you sleep with somebody that you shouldn't, but it's not a problem yet, and then that was kind of it wasn't like that at all, but wait. No, but basically what I'm saying is like, once the bad part has happened, like once the wife has found out, and this is a completely separate story. This has nothing to do with the Rhodes Scholarship. But that was just an example. But let's say, for example, the wife finds out, then you have to sit there. Then you're really upset. And so that's what it was kind of like when the Rhodes Scholarship went down. I had nowhere to go. And I had plenty of time to stew. I didn't have any class. I couldn't really work that much. All I could do is play a few songs on the street. I was just a bum. This is what is normal. But it's not fun to be a bum. It's fun to be a bum when you got it all in front of you and you got a plan. But when you're a bum and you don't have a plan or anywhere to go, it sucks to be a bum, man. And so like I was basically despondent, and so I sat there, just really, this song was, I worked on this one for a while. It's not a very complicated melody or anything, but I worked on the lyrics, I was also very childish back then. I don't sing this verse anymore, but what does it go? Get off the bench, son, take a swing. You got two heads, both think one thing. I really want it, but is it what I should do? Well, of course it is. You gotta take a chance. You got two big cherries in your underpants. You don't bend John Thomas into number 2. And anyway, you almost won. You're practically done. You're virtually there. If I was gonna try to describe the difference between me at 21 and me now at my tender age, I would say that the main difference is that I don't sing the verse of that song. That's probably about all that's changed, Everything else is basically about the same. Now, Donna, you reminded me, and thank you for staying in the comments. You reminded me of what the story you're talking about, and it would be my pleasure to go there next time. That is a great choice. That's fabulous. So we'll go to Mexico while we're wrapping this up. Everybody get ready. Donna's jumped the gun and decided to go to Mexico. And if there's other stories you want to hear, don't be shy. Put them in the comments. We can get them lined up, guys. I'm going to be doing this every week for a while, working on my improv skills, all right? And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here with me. It's a lot of fun. Oh, and before I finish too, or in case I forget, we got a brand new Purple Party coming this next Tuesday. So there won't be a live stream, but there'll be a brand new episode. And dude, we're doing once a month and we're putting so much into this. Matt, who plays Frank, he is really stepped up his game, and there's a lot of people working on this show. My mom works on it, I work on it a lot, and there's so much going into it. I really hope you'll come and check it out next week, and maybe we'll live stream a little and talk about it. Who knows? Figure it out as we go along, but definitely check out the Purple Party next week. Now, it's true, man. I eventually did fly back. Now, I'm not going to tell you the rest of the story, but, I'm just going to finish it up in kind of a nice way with the last verse. So, I was heading out. I flew back to San Francisco, of all places. My parents, like I said, were living in a trailer or an RV down on the border of Mexico, and my brother was like still in school, and I had a buddy who was living in San Francisco, and he wanted to start a band with me. And so we went there and started sleeping on his floor and looking for work. Or I guess I didn't look for work. I let my soon-to-be ex-wife do that. You do the math. Anywho, so what I did instead of getting a job, while I still had this song and all the things I could have done wrapping around my head, I convinced myself that it was, better to be in San Francisco and be a open mic host than to be over there in that stuffy old British place. I started playing at this little place called the Hotel Utah. It's still quite a well-known spot in San Francisco. It's a great joint with a big ship deck. I'll tell you some stories from there another time, but it's got a big ship deck, and boy, there was a lot that went on there. It's where everybody went back in those days, and we would always hang out there on Monday nights. I remember I had a friend of mine, he's a great musician. He's out in California now. He's done quite well for himself. It's Bernie Riley, and he came up to me, and this was almost the only song I ever played. I didn't have a lot of songs back then, and I didn't know what to play, and all I really felt like was a total loser, man. So this was my hit. And I remember Bernie came up to me, he said, I really like that one. You almost won. How'd you write that one, man? You gotta tell me the story behind it. I said, I'll tell you sometime. I'll tell you something. All right. I remember I took my guitar and I walked back those cold streets of San Francisco with a couple bucks from open mic in my pocket, and going back to live in this little dismal apartment underneath a mean Russian landlord. And it was tough, man. We were just about to get divorced, man. It was bad times. But I can laugh about it now for sure. And I'm gonna leave you with this last verse. And I'm gonna tell you, I had such a good time today. This is what I wanna do. I wanna do it each week. I think it'll only get better. Hopefully you understand more what I'm into. And that we'll try and request and get involved in the comments just like you did. And we'll get it like a well-oiled machine after too long. So don't forget this. There's a little advice at the end here. And just in case you're wondering, I did not write this song about the 2016 election or about the guy that everyone might think I was writing this about. This is actually a song that I wrote, well, quite some time ago when I was a young lad, and I almost got the Rhodes Scholarship. So this is the last verse of You Almost Won, and then I'm going to probably turn off the stream. So again, guys, thank you so much for a wonderful stream. This is so much fun, and I just want to get ready to cut it because I want to cut it clean. Thank you, Misra, Donna, Matt, Amanda, everybody, Adam, Carrie, thanks for hanging out. I can't name everybody, but all the comments and your interaction means a lot to me. I want to get this improv thing going, and I can't wait to show you the Purple Party next week. Now remember, if you got some bad things going on right now, it's not an easy time. Life is difficult. Certainly it's for me. Maybe you're on easy street, I'm not. But if you're having a difficult time out there, you can always laugh about things, and or you could just be delusional. I kind of like that. Now when you go home and you got bad news, got whiskey in your cheeks and a heart full of blues, just look them in the face. Tell them you won. Why? 'Cause lying is the truth when it sounds convincing. Lying is winning when people start listening. And if you're good at lying, then you're always number one. And anyway, you almost won. You almost won. You're practically done. You're virtually there. One more time, guys. Come on. You almost won. You almost won. You almost won. You almost won. You're practically done. And you're virtually